Thank you so much for the opportunity to be dealing with this topic. Marriage is an institution which was instituted by God with His own agenda at heart. So basically it's not a man-made institution, it's a God-ordained institution where God said it's not good for a man to be alone and make him a suitable helpmeet. So as far as I'm concerned, it was in the mind of God. It is His idea. There are different kinds of reasons why people divorce, but the one that comes to mind is because there is an element of intolerance in marriage, and also people come into marriage with expectations that they never communicated to the other person, and therefore when that person does not meet those expectations, they get frustrated, and at the end of the day they call it quit. Well, to a couple that does not have children, I think marriage is still marriage. Children don't make marriage, but marriage is made by two people who have agreed to come together and in the presence of witnesses in front of the minister made vows to be married. And therefore when you marry within the Christian context, you don't know what's going to happen. And therefore I think my take is you don't marry for children. So if children are not the fruit of that marriage, that does not mean that marriage is over. What a wonderful question. These things do happen, and sometimes indeed the husband is unemployed, and horrible things do happen sometimes if the spouse does not understand such a dynamic and what it means to such a husband. I think when we make vows, we don't pay attention to what we are saying because we are caught up into the mode of excitement. We forget that after the wedding, the marriage starts, and those vows are the foundation and the pillar to carry out this marriage so that it can last. So when the husband is not working, when we made vows, we didn't say until the husband is not working. You see, so I think a marriage where the husband is not working needs grace, needs God to overshadow and to cover it, and the wife to play a supportive role rather than demeaning, undermining and devaluing that husband, because you may undermine him now just because the state of affairs in his side are not favorable, but you can divorce him only to find that tomorrow things are changing for the better, and therefore you don't have a right to enjoy those benefits because you were a prophet of doom. I think this is an interesting question because readiness is too critical when it comes to marriage, because some people get matured earlier and they are able to get married. But when we speak about readiness, you must be ready mentally, you must be ready psychologically, you must be ready physically, you must be ready also financially and all aspects of your human existence. Marriage is not all about kisses and ice creams and movies. It takes work to engage in it, because it takes two people coming from two different backgrounds who have never lived together to be in the common space. And therefore if you are not ready, it's going to challenge you, because now you are no longer independent. Or when you marry, you are interdependent. You need to learn how to become one and to coexist in the same space. So I think our young people sometimes they look only on the sexual dimension and the attraction and the emotional connection, but it takes more than that. You need to be ready and you need to be sure. And when we make vows, we say, forsaking all others. So that means if you are not ready, you are going to be having a problem of neck turning when you meet others who are attractive to you. So readiness means I am done with seeking and searching. I want to focus into the one that I choose. And the greatest thing is, God is not choosing for us. He's given us the liberty to choose for us, so that when you go through problems, then you realize that my choice is giving me a problem. Because the last person who blamed God was Adam, said, the wife you gave me. And God in the New Testament context, he said, I give you the will and the liberty to choose. So therefore, when when your wife and your husband are giving you challenges, it is not God's problem but yours, and you need to deal with it. Baba, premarital counseling is very, very much important, because it takes us back to the issue of preparation. Premarital counseling is like training, because it's going to arm you and give you skills on how to be able to handle yourself as a man or as a woman. Premarital counseling is like a tool that is given into your hands, because you are entering and engaging into a journey that you don't know. And unfortunately, some of us, we have learned through trial and error, because the counseling that we've been given, they just told me, uyambona muhle kanjani umgqokise and then umnakekele adle. So I thought, uma ngigcwalisa ifridge ngokudla ngenza ijob yami. You understand what I'm saying? But it is more than that. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know. Sometimes in church we teach young people sex out of marriage is a sin, but now when we get into marriage, we are no longer reorientated to say now is the right time, and how do you engage into it. I mean, things such as foreplay and how do you prepare your spouse. You understand? It's not like you are figanje masithandaze. So those counseling plays that role to help you, to prepare you to this unknown world. You understand? And I think the people of the world are far much better in this regard, because their eyes are opened, and now we want to rely on the Bible. I heard a story, I don't know how true it is, that these two young people who preserved themselves got married. Marriage is a blessing, and they went to honeymoon. And when they got there, during the time where the brother wants to engage into sexual activity, sister wacula amaculo wendumiso jogo huya, and this guy was so angry to say, what's happening now? So that's lack of preparation, and I blame leaders for that, because we as leaders, we must be able to put our children down, our young people, and teach them these things. So premarital counseling is so important. As much as we put emphasis on other aspects of teaching in the church, we must not shy away from teaching our children and putting them aside, and even using the very same pulpit to train and to teach them. So for me, premarital counseling is important. I think the many cracks that we are having today in most of our marriages is because some of us, we were just let to go and swim on our own, and the waters are so deep and we can't swim. And as a result, sometimes fingers are pointed at us than those who we were entrusted into their hands to help. So premarital counseling, I think a perfect marriage, I don't believe that there is a perfect marriage, but a perfect marriage is a marriage where Christ is at the center, where a husband and wife are able, even though they have differences, they know that they have a common ground where they meet. Christ is at the center. Christ is at the center. When they offend each other, when they point each other with fingers, when they hate each other, there is a space that does not have anger. There is a space that does not have conflict. There is a space that does not have blame shifting. That is the space of Christ. So when they are both believers and when they are both praying people, they understand that their differences can and could be resolved when they reach into that space where they both know they can be vulnerable and be free to pour out. And you know, I'm taking you back to the vows. We say there is that scripture in Matthew 19 when the Pharisees came to accuse Jesus and to question him about divorce. And Jesus says, Moses instituted divorce and allowed you because of the hardness of your hearts. You see, because of the hardness of your hearts. So there's sometimes where hearts are hardened, but when we get to that space, only Christ is able to soften that heart. And I think for me, that is a portrayal of a perfect marriage. Because once we lose the connectivity of us with Christ, then you've lost it. Because you can disconnect with me as your spouse, but let's go and connect with Christ and see how things can work out.